New developments in Malaysia today. Opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim met the king this morning, presenting him with documents proving that he has majority support in parliament to form a new government.
Mr. Anwar telling a news conference this afternoon that the list contains the names of more than 120 lawmakers. That exceeds the 112 he needs in the 222-seat parliament to claim control of the House. However, the palace has since issued a statement saying that Mr. Anwar presented only the number of MPs who allegedly support him but did not reveal their names.
With these documents, it is abundantly clear that we have registered a formidable, convincing majority in Parliament, or among parliamentarians. I would appeal to the Malaysians to exercise patience, wisdom, and to allow the King to digest and decide based on the spirit of the Constitution and the discretion of His Highness. Meanwhile, we must also remember that Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin has lost his majority and therefore would be appropriate for him to resign.
Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teo joins us from Kuala Lumpur. Shannon, Mr. Anwar said he has a majority of support in Parliament, but the palace said he only gave the number of MPs but not their names. Can you give us some clarity on this?
Well, we have two statements from the two figures, not exactly contradicting, but there is a gap in their two narratives of what happened. Now, Dato' Sri Anwar, of course, has said that he provided documents, declarations of support, affirming that he has at least 120 MPs behind him. What the palace statement seemed to indicate was that Anwar made this claim, but did not supply a full list of names. Now, Anwar didn't claim to supply a full list of names. He claimed to supply documents which prove that he had more than 120 MPs. So there is a bit of a gap. Exactly what are the documents? And if you didn't, why didn't you list out all the names? Right from the start, Anwar has refused to reveal the exact identities of who are the defectors. And it appears as if he, in front of the Agong in his audience with the king, he's also refused to reveal the identity of the names of the defectors. So this is the situation we are at now. It appears as if even the palace does not have full clarity of who exactly are the 120 plus MPs that Anwar says supports him.
Right, okay. Well, the king hasn't reached a decision yet. So, Shannon, how would the matter play out, you think? What are the likely scenarios here?
Well, if you go according to the letter of his statement, what the Agong seems to indicate is that I don't have to make a decision. He has advised Anwar to go to follow the letter of the law, legal provisions provided in the federal constitution. It seems to indicate to some observers that he is asking Anwar to go to parliament and defeat the government in a vote. Now, the very next vote that's coming up is the budget vote, and if the government loses that, that's effectively a motion of no confidence. That seems to be how some are reading this statement from the Agong. But clearly, the Agong is saying, I'm not going to make a decision, at least not now. And we have heard that he is summoning other party leaders, other top political figures, to see what they have to say about this. And perhaps he is trying to ascertain or confirm Anwar's claims with other politicians to see if it is necessary for him to act at all.
If this bid doesn't work out for Mr. Anwar, is this the end for him? I mean, I would say, for one, his credibility would take a hit.
I think when we last spoke, we did talk about the many various times that Anwar has claimed that he was going to form government, that he had won or he had a majority. And if this doesn't succeed, it will be chalked down as another time the boy cried wolf, so to speak.
Yeah.
It will be, I would say, the end of this particular bid. I don't think he can launch another similar gambit before the next elections to make it yet another claim that he has a majority. That is if he fails this time, of course. But I don't think that is the end for him politically as a whole. I mean, I believe he will still be involved in the next election, whether as the opposition leader, whether as the prime minister candidate, remains to be seen. It does dent his credibility, and it does dent whether he would be the opposition's main prime minister candidate. We know there are a few names in the hat. So it would also depend how they perform in the next election. He could very well win, and then that would solve the entire equation altogether. But I think if it fails right now, we won't see him launch a similar bid before the next election are called.
Well, on the flip side, say Mr. Anwar does become PM this time, immediately, what challenges lie ahead for his administration?
I think immediately people will look for him to do better than the Muhyiddin administration. Now, the Muhyiddin administration was perceived to have done well handling COVID all the way up to last month until the current wave. People are saying it's the third wave, right? And if an Anwar administration can handle that better, immediately people will say that, yes, this is a good government, this is a government that we should keep in place. Aside from that, he will face the same challenges Pakatan Harapan faced when they were in power. A lot of right-wing Malay rhetoric about whether the Pakatan Harapan government was trying to undermine Malay interests. Anwar will have to face those kind of issues as well, and I think that's why in his statements, in his press conferences regarding this particular bid to take over government, he's always stressed that this will be a government that at its core is Malay Muslim dominated. This will not be a Chinese-led government or a minority-led government. And that kind of messaging, I think, makes him, it clearly shows that he's aware of the challenges that Pakatan Harapan face, and these are the same challenges he will have to overcome if he becomes Prime Minister.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Shannon. We'll check in, of course, again as this story develops. We've been speaking to the Straits Times' Malaysia Bureau Chief, Shannon Teo.